All right, I think that we can start. Once again, welcome to all of you who joined this afternoon our webinar. We're happy to host this webinar with Daniel Keller as a part of our series of free online events with famous IT speakers. Our IT star today is an interaction designer in the automotive space who is focusing on the future of automotive UI UX design. He specializes in electric and autonomous vehicles, as well as in how user experience will change. Daniel is always at the forefront of new technologies, utilizing them to create stunning user experience concepts. Today we'll have 30-minute presentation, and you are free to send your questions even during Daniel's presentations. Please use the function at the bottom of your screen and send your questions via chat. After his speech, there will also be a dedicated session for your questions. So in case you missed to ask him during his speech, you have this chance later on. With that, I'd like to pass it over to Daniel. Daniel?
Thank you, and welcome everyone to today's webinar. Let me start sharing my part of the screen. So today's webinar is about LUVRE, and you might think, what is LUVRE? And I will explain it in a second, and I will also say a few more words about myself as well. So LUVRE is a tool to unify automotive interior and HMI design that we have developed in-house at Luxoft. My name is Daniel Keller, as said already. I'm an automotive UI UX designer focused on new technologies, software, electric vehicles, and autonomous vehicles. And I'm often involved in projects that are in the concept stage of cars, for exhibits, for new technologies in cars. There's a lot of topics with 3D design, interior design, and also UI design. And what we noticed at Luxoft is that often there is this disconnection between HMI design and interior design. And this is what we developed LUVRE for. But what's the topic, or how is today's presentation structured? So today's presentation will be very, very practical. So the big majority of the presentation will be a live demo where I show LUVRE, and this is also why you can ask questions. So if you notice something, or you have a question, or you want to see a certain feature or something like this, I can definitely show that. So feel free to ask questions, or you can also ask questions in the end. But I will start with explaining why LUVRE, why we developed it, what even is LUVRE in detail, how did we develop this tool, and then we have the detailed live demonstration of LUVRE. So it's very, very simple today. So why LUVRE? Why does it matter? As I said, we noticed at Luxoft, at our UI UX department, that there is often a disconnection between interior and HMI design. The reason for that is that the interior design and the HMI design often happens at different stages of the car design phase. And sometimes, or often, it's even completely different teams who are designing those things. And there might be a lot of changes on the way. And we wanted to have a tool where we can view in a very early stage the interior design together with the HMI design, and at best in virtual reality. And the very best thing would be if it would be interactive, and we could even interact with those screens. And this is what LUVRE is for, and this is why we have developed it. Here is, for example, a super small little detail example, but I noticed it when I looked for those two pictures, where one is more about concept interior design, and here about HMI design. And one thing that I noticed is, so this is a Mercedes, and this Mercedes has this feature where it turns the climate vents blue if you set the temperature colder, and it turns it red if you set it warmer. But if you notice, the blue tone of the ambilight is not connected at all to the HMI design, for example. And that would be a super little detail where maybe if the blue would be more like this blue greenish, maybe it would work a little bit better and would be more like a harmony together. This is, of course, just a super small example, but there's many of those examples in the interior and in the UI UX design. And this is why we developed this tool to have at the early stage a preview of what we have done for everyone. But what is LUVRE in detail, and what is LUVRE for? So LUVRE is a tool to evaluate HMI design and interior design together at the very early stage in the design process of both. To test and evaluate different screen sizes, variants, seating positions, screen reflections, lighting conditions, and all of that in real time with real-time lighting. It's also a tool to test your UI click dummy prototypes inside a car interior, or even your web prototypes inside a 3D car interior. And all that with a very high visual quality. It's also a very, very good tool nowadays to create stunning marketing material and presentation material of the design process. Even for management presentations and things like this, where you want to just create awesome imagery and explain things. And LUVRE is very good to create many, many variants with not a lot of efforts. How did we develop LUVRE? So LUVRE is developed completely with the Unreal Engine. It was developed with the Unreal Engine 4, which is the old Unreal Engine, but still super crazy powerful. But right now there's already the Unreal Engine 5 in the beta stage. And we are right now in the process of recoding or transforming it to the Unreal Engine 5. The reason for that is that with Unreal Engine 5, you have even more capabilities in real-time rendering and real lightning calculations. And this is very important when we calculate reflections of the screens, for example, when we see how does a window on top of us in the interior design bring reflections onto the screen, how glossy can the screen be, how matte should the screen be, things like this. And this is why we need this real-time calculating power of the light. The focus at really any time during the development was the ease of use of the program so that everyone can use it and not just specialized developers or designers. Because we noticed there's a lot of 3D tools out there, and all of them you need to know how to use them and be very specialized. And we wanted that a UI designer can use this tool, a developer can use this tool, but also a manager who is maybe not into UI design or development or something like this can use this tool. So this was a very important step from us in our team. We started using LUVRE in our own processes in a very early development stage. So we started using LUVRE already as a minimal viable prototype in our own processes. And this helped us to find constant ways how to improve the tools, but also how to find new features. What is required? What is more important? What is less important? And many of our designers and different people use this tool from a very early stage. And from there, we kept developing it further. And it's both available for macOS and Windows. We worked together with tier 1 suppliers and OEMs to find out which features are needed from their side. Because what we noticed is when we presented it to them in, for example, some internal meetings, then often they instantly had ideas, oh, I could use it for this or for this. It would be really cool if there would be an ambilight feature maybe inside this tool and so on. And this is how we kept developing more and more features, but also different feature sets for different OEMs or for different suppliers, everyone with their own needs, basically. To end it, we presented it publicly for the first time at the HMI Award 2021 and won the first prize in the category Most Innovative Development Process. This category fit absolutely perfect, in my opinion, to LUVRE because it helps so much in the development process of the car design, both the interior design and the HMI design. And now we come to the most important part of this presentation, the live demo. For this, I will stop real quick screen sharing, then start up the program and share it again, and then give you a very thorough demo of all the features, the little details, and what you can do with it, and how you maybe could use it in your team or your processes or in your company, for example. So let's start it up. Share screen. Okay, so now you should be able to see the screen. Can I get a quick feedback on that if you can see a car interior. Yes, yes, perfect. Nice, very, very nice. Okay, so this is what you see when you open LUVRE for the very first time with no settings activated or nothing at all. It's basically a very basic, let's say, interior with a certain screen setup. But for example, in your case, it could be a different screen setup, depending on what your requirements are. Maybe you just have one screen in the car or two screens. In this case, for this example today, we have the three screens, the instrument cluster right here, the IVI, and the passenger IVI. And now in LUVRE, I can completely freely move around inside this car interior. And if we go outside, you can see it's basically not a complete car. It's like the more focus on the interior, but of course the exterior could be included as well. I could now also press this button on the top right corner, start virtual reality. I can do that right now because of the screen sharing and so on, and I don't have the virtual reality headset right here. But if I would take this on, I would be in the right seating position, could, for example, set different heights, different seating heights, and, for example, judge how the screen and the steering wheel shadow works together. If the screen maybe needs to have a different angle or a different size or something like this. So now, how do you use this tool? Basically, as you can see, you can select the different screens. And what you then can do is you have a file folder with all your designs in it. And in this folder, you just save your design files, your UI designs. So for example, on another screen, you're working in Photoshop or you have already designs prepared. You just drag and drop that into that folder and they will automatically refresh here. And if not, you can press the refresh button. So for example, you could have a certain design. Let's say this design right here. And then if you want to have a different color variant or test a different color variant, you can save another variant, which I have already, which, for example, is this green one. And then you can switch between those two color variants. This is the very basic feature. As you can see, this is, I think right now, a little bit distorted, this design. So we can go on screen and instead of freescaling, set fit by image. And now basically the screen adapts automatically to the aspect ratio of the image. And now we can set the size of the screen and it stays within the same aspect ratio. If we say freescaling, we can set both the width and the height of the screen, which of course will be now distorted, but sometimes this can be also very useful. We can now throw in a lot of different designs. Let's say, let's throw in a bright design right here and select again fit by image so that it fits nicely. And now, for example, for this design right here, we could judge the steering wheel shadow. But another thing right here is for example, you see this reflection right here on the screen. And what you can do as well is you can set the rotations of the screens to see how different rotations in the screen will have an effect on the reflections on the screen. Because, for example, this interior right here, for this example, has a very big glass panel on the top. So light is coming through it from behind from this light source. So this is already a very interesting thing that you can do. And of course, you can throw several designs on several screens. Let's throw something on all screens that fit together. So let's throw this design on there, this design on there, and this design on there. And by the way, I have many different designs right here that I will use during this live demo. And maybe, just maybe you find even some of your designs because, of course, I cannot show any internal designs or something like this. So we just have a few that we can show. But all the others, for example, some of those that I will show later, I have from different UI sites where you can see concepts. And I just wanted to see how does it work with other designs as well that were completely not designed without any LUVRE in mind or something like this. But right now we have this three screen setup right here. And if we again go on the screen option here, what we can also do, you can see still this reflection now on the passenger display from our field of view. So what we could also do is we can set the screen roughness, which is basically the glossiness of the screen. So there's always this debate in which screens you use in the car, because Of course, you don't want to have reflections, but at the same time, always people want to have like this super crispy screens, which you just get with the glossy screens, where you have like super crispy colors and super good contrast. If we set the roughness, you can already see the reflection goes away, but also the colors are fading out a little bit. This is exactly how it would basically behave in the real world. On top of that, we can also set the display brightness, for example, and see how this would behave. And this gets very, very interesting later on when, for example, when we also talk about the environment, when we make it night or day or have bright sunlight or something like this, which is also something what I will show on later on. But what you can also do is, instead of just loading screens, again, as I said, you can load different variants of screens, for example, a bright design or a dark design, and switch between them very quickly. So you can almost have like a PowerPoint feeling where you have like 40 different screen variants and you load them all in there and test them in virtual reality or in different ways. You, of course, can also go very, very close to the screen or very far away, and all of those different things. But on top of that, what you can do is you can also throw in videos on there. So what we can do, for example, I drag and drop this video on there. This is now very, very distorted because this video is supposed to be for a portrait screen. So we do again fit to image. And now the screen is basically perfect for this video, but we can see with this big screen, it's sticking, the interior is sticking through it. So we can set the different values, for example, and see how we can make it fit maybe a little bit better into the interior, for example. Let's put it like this a little bit. Something like that. And then maybe we can tilt it a little bit towards the driver as well and can see how this behaves. And now we can watch all those animations from this prototype, for example, on our screen. I know, by the way, on your, with the screen sharing, it's probably not super smooth right now. So the frame rate is low, but trust me, if you have this on, this is running right now with 60 frames per second, and I can see this animation absolutely clearly. This is just because of the screen sharing right now. But also at the same time on the instrument cluster, I can, for example, throw on a different video. This is, for example, a screen design from a really cool video that I found on Behance. And yeah, you can also watch this animation right here with this very like fine lines and so on in the instrument cluster. And you can even see here the reflections on the metal from this video also playing in real time. So you can see everything is basically calculated in real time. So this is a little bit what you can show as a content on there. But the next cool thing that you actually can do is you can use HTML on those screens. So let me make the screen a little bit bigger to make it clearer. So I can now just go on, for example, Google and load this on the screen right here. And now also interact with the screen, press different buttons, and then things are happening. Or I can scroll on the screen with my mouse wheel, or also with the fingers if we have hand tracking in virtual reality. But you cannot just use like now a browser or a URL. You can even load in your own click dummies and click on them the same way how I click on here. So for example, you can have your HTML files from Proto.io, from ProtoPie, or from whatever tool you're using, and test them inside a 3D interior with the interactions, which is really cool. For this example right here, we show it with just this with this website, and you can activate or deactivate this feature. So you have the possibility to show. Let me fix this again. To show videos, images, slideshows, and also HTML prototypes, or how we call them, click dummies. Another detail, what you maybe have noticed is we have this area which tells you what kind of screen it is, what the content on is, but also the size on the screen in real values. So this is real world centimeter values. So this screen size right now is 23 centimeters in the width and 37 centimeters in the height, which is pretty cool in my opinion, to have those values directly and get a feeling for it. On top of that, if we want, we can, for example, also hide the steering wheel to get a better feeling for those screens. Of course, if we would want to, we could also import other kind of screens instead of just rectangular screens. In this example, it's all with rectangular screens, basically. On the top, you have presets where you can select different vehicles. Right now, this is the only one that we have loaded in. But imagine you are an OEM and you have like a car line with 4 different vehicles, but a similar HMI or UI design in there. And you can very quickly switch between those vehicles and test the different designs and how big the screens maybe need to be in there. But you can also have presets. The presets are for different screen configurations. So maybe in some cars you have 2 screens. In some cars you maybe have even on the back rear seat entertainment screens, things like this. This is what the vehicle templates and the presets are made for. So far, we have talked all about the screens, the content, what we can show there. But there is a whole nother topic, which is the environment. So everything which is around us in the car, because this has a very big effect on the lighting conditions. So for example, we go now in a more daylight scenario. We can set it dark, brighter or darker. We can even set the rotation of this background image, 360-degree image, and you can directly see what kind of results it has on the reflections on the screen. So maybe for this screen right here, where we have a lot of reflections, we also turn up the roughness a little bit. Back to the environment. If I go outside the car, you can see this right here is a 360-degree image, which is very good because it's an easy way for you to switch between those. For example, here we have a more nighttime setting when we turn it very dark, and we can switch it very quickly. And now what we can do is we can again turn this around. And for example, now we see on the instrument cluster this very bright reflection. If we turn around, we can see it's I'm actually not sure if it's still the sun or already the moon, but I'm pretty sure it's the sun because it's still pretty bright. You have the reflection also right here because it's coming right from behind. And all those, as you notice, are already things that you can test around. But now we already have this really cool, let's say, nighttime theme, and now try to make a very fitting UI design that fits maybe also to the ambilight and so on. So let's go into this greenish, green bluish color on all different screens again. So they are not aligned right now anymore, but for now this is okay. So we have now those 3 designs on it, and now we can turn, for example, on the ambilight inside the car, and we can set the ambilight color, and can see what kind of mood we can create when the ambilight plays together with the UI design. And the cool thing, of course, is we could very quickly throw another design on a screen, like this very purple one right here from earlier. And now we could see if we go back to the ambilight, if we also change the ambilight to a more purple way. One feature that's not right now in LUVRE yet, that's also planned for the future, is that you cannot just change the ambilight and the interior itself and the screens and the content, but also the materials, so that you can switch, for example, leather to plastic or the other way around, or metal and so on, so that it's almost a little bit like a car configurator, but that you can test a lot of different variants together. Can also turn off the ambilight, turn it on again, and just find very good ways how to use that. But this was now all 360-degree images. What we also have is a real calculated sky or skylight, where we can set the sun position, and you can see how the shadows are moving through the interior, and also the vertical position of the sun. So how high it is, and yeah, from which direction it's coming, basically. And like this, we can basically already test every imaginable scenario with a pretty realistic light. So we can also turn on those sun rays, basically, that may be now blinding us, and we can see how they are behaving on the interior. We're turning them off again, that it's a little bit more realistic. And you can already see how this changes also the mood in the interior, also if we are turning down the ambi light a little bit. On top of that, we can enable the clouds. So it's even a little bit better, because the rest of the environment is just an empty environment. It's all about the sky and the light. And also, if we look very closely into the clouds, they're even moving and are animated as well. Just a small little detail. And this is how you can create basically the perfect synergy between UI design and interior design, and test out a lot of things and a lot of different variants. And as you maybe have seen, this tool is not very complicated to use. So it's very easy to use, and with just a little bit of introduction, everyone can make their own, let's call them, creations. What we still have to do by hand is importing the interior design. So let's say you have a different interior that you want to test in there with a different screen setup. How usually the workflow is that we get the data from this interior and we convert it in a way that we can display it in real time with only the necessary stuff, with the right materials and so on, and then adjust all the basic screen layout so that we have a nice baseline to test around with different screen layouts, as I have shown. And then we can have also, as said, several interiors with the presets. One of the last features that I want to show is the camera. And this is where we come to the marketing material that we have shown. Let's now make it a little bit unrealistic again with this bloom from the sun. Let's even turn it a little bit further down so that we have this very nice orangey look. And let's do the ambi light a little bit more on the dark blue side, maybe on the bottom or something like this. And now, of course, we want to throw on some designs. So let me see if I find some that we have not used yet. So I think that's an instrument cluster. Exactly. It's a little bit dark right now. So let's turn on the screen brightness. And I think we can also make it a little bit bigger. And let's throw on a different design on, or like actual head unit design on this screen right here, which fits very nice from the design to the instrument cluster. And let's throw a third one on this screen right here, which we still need to set to fit by image, so that it is working perfectly together. Let's actually make sure that nothing is like that. A little bit more closer. That nothing is that's it's a little bit aligned for now. We don't need to make it perfectly right now. And now what we can do is we can select this camera feature that I have shown earlier. We can set a focus method. So this is now behaving like a real camera. We can set the aperture, which gives us a blur, for example, if we get closer and focus on one object. So we have this focus dot right here in the middle, and we can focus on different things. So right now we are focusing on the steering wheel, but we can also focus on the UI design. We can set the field of view, so even zoom further in. And you can already see from the visual quality, this is a really cool way of doing it. And let's find a nice shot now together. So let me go a little bit wide angle. Again, it doesn't have to be super realistic. And by the way, there's also a few shortcuts about this program that you can learn. For example, with the H key, you hide all the interface. So right now I have hidden all the interface. I think it's a little bit too wide field of view. I've hidden all the interface to see how it will be like. And now what we can do is we can save this camera. So this camera is now saved, and we say driver look Right. So this is now the name for this camera. What I can now do is I can go, for example, between those two seats, maybe from behind. Let's go a little bit down like that. Set again the field of view in a way. And camera and settings very, very quickly. And how we can now create a lot of material, a marketing material, is if we, for example, let's throw another design, a bright design. Let me find the bright version of this. So right here, we have the bright version of this instrument cluster. For this, we have to turn down the screen brightness a little bit. And with this bright design, we can go in this camera, now make a screenshot with the bright design, make a screenshot from here, switch the designs around like this with just one mouse click, go back and make the screenshots again, and create a lot of different material from the same perspective. And you can create, for example, 10 different cameras and save them also when you close the program. And for this, we have the screenshot button. If we press this screenshot button, then we get the message. You don't see that. I think that's outside of the recording window, but it basically saves a high resolution screenshot of the current camera view without the interface. So basically like this, without any interface or anything like this. And this is very helpful for the marketing material. And yeah, so I have now shown what the content on the screen can be with the interactive one, with the lighting conditions, with the environment, how this could all play together, how we have the camera. And then we also have some settings so that we can run it on a lot of different PCs, because this tool even runs, for example, on a standard MacBook. Then you have to turn down the quality settings, of course, a little bit, and maybe the resolution. But it also runs on laptops. Let's put it like this: you don't need a super crazy high quality machine. And I think now we can go over, I would say, seamlessly into the Q&A about the tool, because maybe there is some question or some open things or some stuff that you want to see, or some things that some feedback or something that you have, because I see already the first question. It's from LUVRE. I hope I pronounced this right. Is it possible to change the shape of the IVI from rectangle to circle? So right now within the tool, we only have the rectangle tools. But what we could do is we could import different screen types. For example, not every screen is rectangular. It can be circular, for example, which would be very interesting, but it could be also a little bit rounded or something like this. This is something which is right now not a feature that's directly implemented right here, that everyone can do it, but we can prepare the tool in a way that it can be imported, and then also the screens can be viewed there. But then it gets a little bit trickier from the user interface, because here it's very simple. If you have rectangular designs and rectangular screens, how to align them with each other. But if you have, for example, screens with curvature and so on, the PNG files will be still rectangular. So you need to make sure that they are properly aligned. But that's definitely also possible and a feature. Thank you for the present. Abdullah Muslim, thank you for the presentation. I have a question. Do we are free to deploy screen anywhere, like for example on the back of the front seats for the yeah, exactly. So I'm not 100% sure right now. If let me check. I think we don't have the complete control everywhere. Actually, it still works. So we can also put the screen right here, of course, and set, for example, a different screen tilt and so on. So let's put this like this, and we can judge the screen from here. But for this, as I said, you could also have presets where you have a presets with the screens in the front and the screens in the back, or maybe just screens in the back. But in this case, with those values, I can also pull the screen onto the back seat and do it by hand, basically. But it's still called right now here passenger IVI. Technically, it's still for a passenger in the car, of course. So this is possible. And of course, if we think about the future, the screen could be also like somewhere different and maybe very like crazy examples. For example, let me show you one thing that I did not show. A very unusual format is right here, this one. This is a design which was for a motorcycle UI. And the screen is very, very portrait, like crazy portrait, basically. And now this looks, of course, completely ridiculous because it's very big. But like those very unusual designs, we can very quickly now test in here and see how it would behave. For example, we can set the tilt that it's maybe like a little bit more flat, and let's put it perfectly in here and see. Could maybe a screen like this, a screen aspect ratio like this work out? Or as someone asked, a round screen or something completely different things. So all of those are possibilities, of course. And what we want, our ultimate vision is for this tool that we work together with other companies, with tier ones, with OEMs, together in partnerships with this tool, for example, so that they can use it in their design tool chain. And how it would work is basically that we deploy a version that fits for their needs perfectly. Maybe there is someone who needs round screens, then we can add this feature. But what we always want is that the user interface and everything stays super easy to use, that everyone can use it and learn it really quickly. We don't want to overload it with all kinds of crazy stuff, like with features that you maybe only need once a year or something like this, but that it always has the things that you need. We have another question directly in the chat from Alexei Markelov. What about non-flat screen support? What about 3D effect screens like those in the new Genesis vehicles? This is actually a very interesting question because this is something that we didn't think at all yet. And it's actually something that would be also possible what we could do. Let me turn off the sun real quick. I'm getting annoyed by it. But let me also set the screen roughness. Let's talk about this design. And let's say there would be a 3D effect where this turn-by-turn navigation right here would be a little bit in front, and maybe also the speed right here would be on a layer in front, and the navigation would be a layer in the back, like 2 centimeters in the back. What we could do is we could load 2 PNG files on top of each other with a little bit distance, so that when you sit here with a VR headset and you move your head around, you would actually see this 3D effect. That's a feature that would have to be developed for the tool, but that's definitely something that would be also possible. Of course, it would have we would have to think how to arrange the different layers of the screens. But I think it would work very similar, like how it would work on a real like 3D screen like this. Now that you told it, screen projection emulation would be another step. Yeah, there is like, that's the crazy thing. And you notice this a little bit, that there is in this webinar right now already ideas flowing what this all can be used for. And don't get me wrong, you can of course also use a 3D tool like a Blender or Cinema 4D and do everything that I have just shown you. You can build the same thing there. But you need to be a specialized 3D designer to get it all working. And then it's a lot of settings everywhere hidden. And this is a tool which has all the settings very easy to understand right where you need them to set all of the things that you want. What about head-up can be also simulated here with shadows and lights? Oh, I'm actually sorry. Let me check the files real quick. I think there is no example right now as a head-up display. Let me just double check in the settings. Oh, wait. No, so this is a feature that we actually have already developed because one customer asked for it. Right now in this version of the tool, it's not in there. Again, for this version, it was not needed. But how it works basically is it works also like a screen. Let's put the screen somewhere else so that wait, why does it select the screen? Let's put it into a usual position where maybe a head-up display would be. And how it then works is you load in a PNG file with a black background, and it masks everything that's black basically away. And then it's transparent, kind of like a class projection right here. And then you can judge with different brightness levels and so on also, and also how it would behave on different backgrounds if you load different 360-degree images. This is something that we have tested already for a different customer, which demanded this head-up display feature. Sadly, I completely forgot about it in this version. I don't have the setting right here, but we have a setting which says is head-up display basically. And with this setup, with this setting, it masks all black colors because black color you can anyways not display on a head-up display. Is it possible to add some interactivity buttons that simulate something like AC, turning vehicle on and off? Exactly. This is something that I have shown earlier. Maybe I can show it again real quick. We have a feature right here. Let me make the screen a little bit bigger that you can see it better. We have a feature right here which can use HTML links or prototype files. So right here, I'm loading Google, for example, and it's just the Google website. But I could also, for example, go on YouTube. Let's go on youtube.com. And now we would be on YouTube and can try this. Or we could also try, for example, a web version of Spotify. But right now, this is just to show you that it's completely interactive. As you can see, I can scroll around. I could also click a video. I'm not sure if a web video would play right now. But for example, I can click on Explore. And I can use this as a click dummy, let's call it. Because instead of just loading a domain, we could also directly link a HTML file that's on your PC, for example, from a click dummy. And then you could have some interactivity to have different screens. The next level would be, which is not developed yet, if those click dummies would be connected to the car. So let's say you press a button on the screen to turn on and off the ambi lights, something like this. This is something that's not in there and also not in the development. And we have thought about it, especially when testing those click dummies in virtual reality. But we think that it would make a lot of things also complicated. But technically, it would be also possible. Yeah, but it's totally possible to load different prototyping tools. How about steering wheel button or dash buttons knob interactivity? So right now we just have a simple steering wheel without any buttons or anything like that. It would be also possible, but always the question is, how do you use them? Because what we could do is, if we are in VR, we could use hand tracking and it would work. But of course you don't feel this button. So it doesn't feel like, you cannot simulate the perfect feeling like in a real car. For this, you actually also need to build the interior to test those things. This is more for a different state of testing, I would say. Yeah. I'm actually happy that there is so many questions, I have to say, because it seems there is a lot of ideas and interest from the different people. And this was also the plan for this whole demo right here. I'm looking right now in the background for a link real quick to show you maybe a click dummy. Give me 1 second. Let's use this one right here. So I went now on Proto.io and searched for a link for a prototype. So HTML click dummy. So I copy paste this link, I load it, and now this interactive click dummy is loading right now. I can make it full screen. And now we, wait, let's make, try it again. And now we have this click dummy on here. That's now, let's say, a web interface has nothing to do with a car, but you could imagine it could be also a car interface. And now we can also use this click dummy completely as it would be an interface on a normal screen, like not in a 3D environment. There is already the next question. Is the tool open source, available for anyone to download and design? No, that's not the case. So that's also maybe interesting to talk about. Like the tool was originally developed with the intention to use in-house for ourselves, for our own design department, and see how we can use it. And as I said, during the development, we noticed how cool this tool can be in different design phases. And that's why we kept using it more and more. And then we have shown it to different presentations, to OEMs, tier ones, and so on, and saw the interest right there. And how let's call it the licensing, or how it works, is basically, we also don't really sell this tool or licenses or something like this, or there's also not an open source code or something like this. How it works is, we want to create partnerships with this tool. So let's say you have a design department where you think this could be very useful, and maybe you are active in the UI UX design space. Then you can contact us, and then we can see how we can maybe start a project together or something like this. Because as Luxoft, of course, we have a lot of experience in UI UX in the automotive industry. We have created many systems for OEMs. And this is a very good tool for this. Or for example, because this tool always has special requirements. As you noticed, there was a lot of questions. Is this possible? Is this possible? Is this possible? Everyone has their own requirements. And if someone requests this tool or is interested in it, we see how the customer could potentially use it. And then we can see how, for example, we can create a project together, an opportunity together, or something like this, where this tool is part of it, and where maybe certain features are implemented by us that fit perfectly the need of the customer. But I'm afraid to tell you that it's not open source to download for everyone for free. Okay. Let me check one more time. Oh, there's an open question. It would be interesting to have all these settings, Ambilight as an API, so it would be possible connect screen click to some changes or create dynamically changing environment. This is actually a really good point, Alexei, and something that I will put on my list, because it's a really good idea. Because right now, this tool is designed basically by UX UI designers for UX UI designers. So we didn't think so much for development and engineering and so on. But of course, imagine how awesome it would be if we would have real-time data that's coming into the simulation and showing something on the screen, like let's say the speed of the car or some simulated values, or the other way around, as I said, that you can click something on the screen and do something or control it via an API. This is something that we have not considered at all so far, because it was always considered as a UI UX tool, basically, to judge those designs. But it's actually a very interesting idea, I have to say. So thank you for that feedback. Are there any more open questions about the tool? because if not, then I would switch one more time real quick to screen sharing. Yeah, to just say thank you, basically, for especially the very, very active participation. I did not expect that there is so many questions, ideas, and suggestions. This is something that we have noticed very often already when we have talked to different OEMs, to tier ones, to designers, and so on, that it was always like this. But I didn't think that it would be in a webinar like this as well. So thank you for this, because makes it always more interesting to present like this. And if you want to connect, if you have more questions, if you maybe are interested in the tool, or if you maybe have opportunity to work together or to start a project together or opportunity, then you can just scan the QR code, or which is linked with LinkedIn. So you can add me on LinkedIn and just drop me a message there, basically. Other than that, I can just say thanks for everyone participating. And I think now we also have some quick Q&A part about the webinar itself, right?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you for the great content you shared today with us. And thank you from my side to all the participants. We'll appreciate if you could share your opinion about this event by filling our questionnaire. You can access it through the poll function on the bottom of your screens. This will help us to improve and our next webinars to be better and better, and with more interesting topics. And I would also like to remind all of you that the latest Luxoft updates, news and events are always posted on our Facebook and LinkedIn pages. So be sure you are following us to be in the know about everything we're doing at Luxoft. This webinar video recording will be published also on YouTube later on. That's why you're free to use it for future references.
I have one more point that I forgot totally, because I actually don't know who is watching whatsoever, but there could be also that you may be interested, maybe you're a UI designer or something, that are interested to work for Luxoft, because we are always looking for people. So if this is something that you're interested, you can also contact Luxoft, because especially right now, we are still looking for UI, UX designers in different areas. So if this is from your interest, that would be also cool, or also in departments like engineering, software development, mobile development, and so on, or also Unreal Engine, for example, or Unity, as a last reminder. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, thank you for helping me here. Definitely you can visit our career website and check all the open job roles and vacancies, especially in the area of UI and UX, and you see already what type of things we are doing in Luxoft. Daniel and his team are doing a really brilliant job, and it's always interesting to hear and listen and to work with them. I can share this like a colleague of them. So visit us and keep us watching.
Perfect. Yeah, then I can just say thanks everyone again one more last time, and I would say everyone have a very nice evening, and maybe we see us on LinkedIn. Thank you.
Thank you from my side too, and I wish you a great evening and a great rest of the week. Bye everyone.